Hi, welcome. This is Carol from SkilCheck, and I'm honored today to have a friend and longtime friend and confidant in storage, Ann Ballard. And I love what you do, Ann. I've always been an admirer of your stores and your operations, and so many things that you guys do. Just amazing. And so when I saw all of your stats, which you're so good at, I thought I'd like to share it with my YouTube fans, if you will, because I think that we sometimes, as smaller operators, we think that we can't compete against the large companies and the REITs, but we can. And I think your data shows that. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell us what all this means and how you all have been performing, especially. Yeah.
Well, first of all, thanks, Carol. And yes, Carol and I run a mutual admiration society. We have known each other for many decades now and have learned a lot from each other that we are always willing to share. So we operate about 70 stores coast to coast and track their data every quarter, just like the REITs, the real estate investment trusts, do. And we compare our numbers to theirs on the two most key operational numbers that exist. One is your same store sales increase year over year. It's like a football game. That ball needs to keep moving down the field. You can't just sit in the middle of the field and cross your legs. Whether you're making big giant gains, as all of us in the industry have made in the last 2 years, or fighting tooth and nail to get that 5-yard gain. It's just about continuing to move forward and measuring yourself over what you did the previous year for the same time period. So that's what you're seeing in this first chart of Universal Storage Group stores versus the Real Estate Investment Trust. It's also important for smaller operators to know, for anyone actually, that these numbers are only stores that we can measure year over year that were in our portfolio. And the REITs also measured the same way. So neither of us are counting the new ones that have come in or that are under development and leasing up, because then the numbers would be false and ridiculously high. So, you've got to measure same stores. So if an owner has 2 or 3 stores in their group, then each one is measured against itself and then combined to measure his whole portfolio against itself as it grows. So if you'll notice, this one being the sales increase over the prior year, we started measuring this back in 2013. And have been doing so ever since against Public, Extra, Cube, and Life. And there are some more REITs now, but these are the ones that we have tracked over time, being the largest of the real estate investment trusts in our business. So you can see that for that same store sales increase, finally, Extra did beat us in Q1 and Q2, not by a lot, but a little bit. We'll get back there. One of the things I could comment about that is, since the stores we manage are for different kinds of owners in different locations of the country, different styles, ages, different amenities. So we really are kind of a microcosm of the whole industry, old and new, large and small. So we decided, given the uncertainty of this year and it being an election year, that we weren't going to keep our foot on the pedal as hard in Q2 and through this winter as we did in previous periods. But as you can see, Extra Space decided to keep their pedal to the metal, so to speak, and achieved a very big gain. Who's to say, that we were wrong or their way is the only way? I'm just saying that as operators in these small to large towns, and each one independently owned, we have to take the safe course ourselves. So I still think we have pretty outstanding results on that same store sales increase. And,
Absolutely.
Carol, you and I meet a lot of owners who tell us that they don't even have a budget. Well, your budget, if all you're going to do is on a napkin, is to take the income you had each month last year and increase it by 10%, and that's your budget for this year. that is better than nothing, because having a goal to shoot for is certainly the key part of reaching this goal and hitting these kind of numbers.
And sharing that with the managers, right? Because sometimes owners just don't even give that information to them. And
I
you all
know,
are so good about working it and having the whole, all of your group go, fighting it, or in a positive way too, not negative. It's healthy competition amongst your managers. I love that.
Yeah, we have 7 different teams, and each team is made up of anywhere from 7 to 12 stores, and they see their performance against the other teams and against the whole company. So having a goal is where it all starts. Managers participate in the budget preparation, and they have their walk-in orders by December 15th for next year, so that they know what their targets are for income of rent, income of box sales, income of late fees. They know all their income and expense targets. I once heard, and since I'm an old person, I think I can get away with saying this. I once heard a saying from my first storage business partner, Norma Taylor, that managers are not like mushrooms. You cannot keep them in the dark and pile poop on them. So you have to
Yeah,
have
that's
their
great.
engagement and their buy-in, except of course here in the South, we use a different word.
Yeah, I like that too, because one of the things even I've noticed when I've been training with your groups and stuff, it's just the the pride that they have in what they do, and always striving for better, and not and wanting to say, we're just not even competing against everyone else. We're really working hard to be the best we can be with as a company and for our customers, because I think some of these places are just, they don't give a darn about the customer. And
I
you all
know.
do. You care about the customer. And so it's including the customer and not saying, okay, it's just profits only. That's that. And I think, in 2022 and having a little bit less, it's not in the big picture. And I think by the time the end of the year comes around, you may see that you've fared well anyway. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
And thank you for those kind words. But
yeah. But
they do
I,
work really hard to
y-
to achieve and exceed their
yeah,
target.
I think for me in this business, the hardest part is the people part. The building, all that other stuff, it's getting the people right. And all the people that say, oh, I don't ever want to have, I'm going to run this without any managers and this, that, and the other. I'm like, my managers are my real asset. They're my
Yep.
lethal weapon. But when great managers can rent it up quicker, can keep control of the store. And I hear so many things. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to run it without it. Like, you, okay, go ahead. But I still want to give great service. And your people give great service. I just, the attitudes, the positiveness, everything. It's just really neat to see, and you really keep it going. And which is not easy to do either, is it? To keep a
True.
level
True.
of, you have to keep doing different things to keep everybody going. Because I mean, even when I had 36 locations, I was like, whew, it was exhausting. Sometimes it's like, oh,
Well, thankfully we have an incredible, a stellar
team.
team.
Yeah.
And two things I think, Carol, are the measurement of that effort. One is that our average length of employee for our field employees is 5.2 years.
Yeah.
It's almost 3 times the
Wow.
national average.
That is
And then
amazing, isn't it?
thank you. And
Yeah.
two is, you're right, we do turn everything into a number and measure it. So
Yeah.
23.5% of our business comes from repeat and referral and marketing customers.
Hmm.
So that's juice out of that orange that other operators can't
Don't.
get, because
Yeah.
they're not doing those things
Because
to
turnover is
have.
expensive, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, when you
yeah,
talk about turnover, it's like, that
they
is
do.
that and it can have consequences for months at a store, but for the new
Oh,
person getting back up to speed. And I don't know,
absolutely.
I just think that when I look at and have worked with your people, it's like, what a breath of fresh air, just always, wanting to learn more, or to and giving back too. They're like, oh, we do this and I mean, because I've always, and I think you're the same way, because we speak a lot, and I tell people this is what we do, and I'm not really hiding anything, but the people are the most important part of this, and I'd love to get the product right. I mean, sometimes it's not right, especially
That's
when you
right.
do third party management.
That's right.
And you weren't involved somewhere. The person decides that we want to do all 10x10s or all 5x10s. This one guy was like, "Oh, 5x10s are the most important ones. That's the best one." I'm like, "Yeah, but you don't need a whole store of those." You're going to have people renting 4 and 5 units because they need that much space.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
stupidity. Like,
that's a true comment. Unit mix is an art, and
yes.
I have clients coming to me almost every single day. Here's my layout, my unit mix, and I said, "Well, who did this for you?" And they say, "Oh, some metal company or an architect." I said, "Oh, great. Have they ever managed storage before? Do they track which units lease the fastest, get the most per
Yeah.
foot? Are in demand in your neighborhood, or is just this some template that everybody gets?"
Yeah.
We fine tune that bad boy so that it is just for that market, that product, and our lease ups go faster. The facility that we won the facility of the year in 2019, Brick House Self Storage down here in south of Atlanta, its lease up was 6 months ahead of schedule because I gave them a diverse unit mix. So keep me talking, Carol. I'll just
Yeah.
go on for days.
No, I do that too. I mean, I think that those are keys to really, getting the people part right. It's all the things that you're doing and writing on all those cylinders. I did a facility audit. I mean, I'm sorry. I did I can't think because of all the
The
music.
report audit.
I did a feasibility study up
Yes.
in Salt Lake City. And so my daughter went with me. We had such a good time. And so we looked at all the competitors and she goes, "Does it seem weird that there are so many competitors? Like, we went to 13 places within a 3-mile radius." And I said, good for you for noticing that. Yes, that's a lot. And so I said no to the project, and they didn't pay me, and they didn't do it, or they were going to do it anyway. I said, "But you paid me because I'm an expert. There are 13 stores in a one or this close radius.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, ridiculous." And they wanted to put another 100,000 square feet. And I'm like, I just don't see it. And then they wanted to build something that was way too nice for the area they were in. They were overbuilding, but they already done the plans. So I knew when I saw the plans that were already done, I said, "Oh, you're coming to me now?" Because it looks like, everything's all ready. They even had the unit mix. I said, "Well, who did the unit mix? Because this doesn't look good to me." And they said, "Oh, our architect did." Yeah, well, an architect, they don't, did he go out and look at what's out in the field? And it's
Do the
just
market study and do the
right.
calculations.
And
Absolutely.
I'm just hoping they don't come to me and say, "Hey, by the way, we need some help now. We're in trouble."
Yeah, you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, when our team is out doing feasibility studies like yours, and we're talking to those managers on the ground at the other properties, you know, we want to know what are customers asking you for that you don't have.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
I want to include what nobody else in the market has. That's my only way to compete in a market where there's 13 stores in a 3-mile radius and no growth rate. I mean, all the numbers are important. The percentage growth rate, the incomes, the competitors, are they like kind? Are they all D class or are they all A class? All of that data has to be measured.
Yeah. And it really does affect what you're doing because you want to know everything about the market.
That's right.
And I
That's
think that
exactly
that's,
right.
but it just shows your thoroughness and what you do and how you manage and how you develop, and including the people part.
Thank you.
I mean, when so many of these people they spend so much money on the property, and then they're like, "Oh, we're going to pay 10 an hour for the," like, well, no.
No, you're not. It's up to almost 20.
Yeah. It's rough, isn't
Yeah,
it?
manager turnover is very expensive. So it's often the case, as you have said, that they think of management as an afterthought when doing a deal, but we like to be with our customer from trees to keys.
Absolutely.
We are going to design for them, give them what they need to ask the architect for, tell them all the secrets, help them get the best bids, and help them do it right.
Yeah, that to me, that makes the most sense. And I think sometimes because of our trade shows and things like that, so many people come with their plans, which is
Yes. Oh yeah.
okay. And which is okay because at least maybe you can still have some effect on that. I had a store in Northern California. It was 200,000 square feet, and there was a home builder,
Oh my
and
goodness.
they put an office at one end of it, and it was as long as the Lowe's that it's next door to. And then they put the elevator right by the office. And I said, okay, where's the other entrance, or the couple of other entrances to
Yeah.
this huge building? And I said, and by the way, I said, what are all the little squares on top of I said, are those air conditioners? And he said, yes, they're air conditioners. I said, well, I think for this big a building, I think we need to look at something. But I said, that's going to be an unbelievable, you need an industrial air conditioner as opposed to all
Yeah.
these small ones. And so he goes, we're already into this. You can't change all of this. And I'm like, okay, well, I thought you were coming to me as an expert, right?
Yeah.
So I managed it for him. And the first bill they got was it was like 19,900. And the guy came unglued. He goes, what's going on? What is this thing? We can't pay this. We don't have any income yet, or not much income or whatever. And I'm like, listen, that's my promise, because I already told you about that one. And I said, I'm trying to still figure out how I'm going to get the customers to and from one end of the building very easily. And it's just stupidity sometimes, isn't it? They think they know better.
They think, oh, here's that, $175,000 elevator line item.
Right.
I don't want to spend for another one, but customers will give you cold zones in a building where they have to go over 120, maybe 150 feet at the max from point of loading. So designing it with a real operator in mind is key to hitting your numbers. Yeah.
Yes. And that's
plus,
the other thing. That's the other weird thing, is they expect a better result when you have an inferior product. And they don't, they think, oh, look how beautiful it is from outside. The beauty, I mean, I love a beautiful property, but it's got to have the important things that customers look for in self-storage.
That's it. Absolutely.
I don't know. We're preaching to the choir here, right?
That's right. Let's show them the net operating income slide.
Yeah.
This is the one that to me is really the measure of how good the management company is.
Yes.
Because this is after we take all the income, then we pay all the bills, and what's left, for the owner, or the net operating income. And out of NOI, we have to pay the debt service, and hopefully there's profits for the owner. So this is our growth to the net operating income, NOI, year over year. And operators need to be looking at this themselves as well for their own properties. So if you're doing it every half a year, well, we look at it every month compared to the year before. But at least owners should look at this quarterly. How am I doing this quarter in my net operating income growth over last quarter? Now, these people building right now that are going to have to pay higher interest rates are really going to have a challenge.
Yep.
So everything impacts your bottom line, and the net operating income is the measure of the effectiveness and efficiency of the management of the property.
Right.
So thankfully, we again had some incredible numbers, all of 21 and then both quarters of 22 so far.
Yes.
But again, Extra Space beat us in the second quarter. They're the only. They and finally Life Storage beat us for NOI. But again, it took them a long time, over a decade, to get close to the kind of performance that we're generating. And this is the same things that any small operator out there can do. Whether you have a small portfolio, a single store, 10 stores, or 50 stores, all of us need to be measuring the same way.
Yes. And look at from 2020 to 2021. It's just fantastic, isn't it?
It's amazing, isn't it?
How well we have fared in self-storage. I'm so thankful. Over all the years when I wanted to be an opera singer, and I ended up in self-storage. I thank God that that's happened to me, because I mean, your voice only lasts so long, but
That's
I'm
true.
still at 62 years old. I'm still in self storage, I love it too. Don't you? I mean, it's,
Absolutely.
there's
And
all kinds of challenges with, and there's the fun people part. There's the, and there's bad to all of it too. But
it's not
to be
boring.
able, no, it's not boring at all. But and to outperform the darlings of, I think, investment people that are looking, even, in the stock market, they're saying, wow,
Yep.
storage is a great deal to do, but you're outperforming them. And that is so, I mean, to something to be proud of, and the managers and all of you, because it takes the whole team, right? But
Yes.
it
And
also, starts at the top. The people at the top, what gets measured gets done. There's so many different words you can use about this, but it's, and it, and it's a female on top of that, which is females, lots of females. And I'm not saying that it's all, but to be led by, such a strong person like you. I mean, it's nice to see kind of competition that you can do when you know the team that they have compared to what you have, and you're
yep.
outperforming them. That to me says that you're getting all cylinders are firing in the vehicle, that everything is, and running well. And it does take a village, right? It takes a lot of people to make all of that happen. And I think some of it's also your positive attitude, that you go, for everyone working there, it's such a team effort. That's what I'm trying to say, is sometimes I know I've hired people, and I probably don't hire, the answer is I really don't hire anyone from Public Storage anymore, because they've kind of been mistreated. And I'm not saying that it couldn't work, but I'm just saying it's hard to break their old habits. And it's
Yeah.
funny because they don't want to ever be back there, but then they want to implement their policies.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yes.
no, we do these, we love customers. We don't, it's not like, oh, here comes a customer.
Yeah.
It's like,
Or you're
oh,
a bother,
yay,
or I can't
someone to
speak to you.
talk to.
Have to call the call center, Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah.
And though I still believe in the managers being there, and having staff, and then the whole thing about just never having a manager there, and you just have some caretaker go by and take off overlocks and all that. So it's too much drama for me. I
Yeah.
like managers.
To get to these numbers, we have to have company projects that the whole company agrees on each year. So right now, this very minute, they're voting on, the leadership team already defined and boiled it down to the top ones. Then we sent it out to our supervisors and refined it again, and then it went out to the field for them to vote on. But by having continuous improvement projects ongoing every single year, it saved us during COVID. We already had online leasings teed
Yes.
up, and some other like
Good.
Ring
Yeah.
doorbells, and stuff. So all we had to do was flip the switch, put it all into action, and go. And this hot topic in the industry of remote management, like you've mentioned, it sure helps the bottom line because your salaries are lower,
Right.
but it's not the win in the long term.
No.
We
No.
agree that the hybrid is going to be the best.
Yeah.
If we have a situation like a COVID or a flu epidemic or something, and the person can't get to work and we don't have anybody else to send. Now, just like your Hawaii manager, we send it electronically
Please.
over to another experienced person to operate.
Yeah.
And with the Ring doorbell, the cell
Yes,
phones,
that helps,
all the
doesn't it?
all
Yeah.
the technology we put in, and I'm now asking for a license plate reader camera at every store on the gates.
Yeah.
So, let's use technology where it's smart, but
Yeah.
people still want to deal with people for the most part. But
Hmm.
sometimes you can't help it. So you got
Right.
to have a plan to pick up the ball and run with it.
Yeah. It's interesting, Anne, because the technology, I know my son, he's been using drones and helping with self-storage. We had a client up in Scottsdale that had a problem with the roof. They used 5-inch nails instead of 9. And so
Oh
the
my
top of
heavens.
his roof looks like this, because it's not.
Yeah, it's not
It's
held
like,
down.
no, it's not down. And so they've already had water problems on the 3rd floor. I just, all kinds of things happening. So he goes, Mom, he had a little drone, and he said, well, I can't get the resolution. So he had some money. So he went and bought a $3,000 drone. And so he gets these pictures and sends it over, and then they sent it to the insurance company, and the insurance company was paying for the claim because we couldn't even get somebody up on there because it's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Thomas went up on there and he got up on, he almost fell through the roof. So he's like, I got off it right away. He says, I tested a little bit and it was not going to hold me up. So I was like, well, then that's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
that is.
and then the owner said, hey, we've got a problem with the city of Scottsdale. They're having an issue with the water, the way the water and the dirt is behind the property. So he said, oh, I can take pictures of that too. So he got all this footage. And then the city was like, okay, well, okay, that's fine. We see what you're doing here. That's fine. And they let him go with it. And so that he thinks that drones, we can use those in security, like
Sure.
because they have a home,
Sure.
and they could do runs at night because they're infrared, just like the police are using. The police
Yep.
are using a lot of drones. And I'm thinking, yeah, I think if you can get this going, that would be awesome because people would use it in self-storage. And that kind of technology, I'd rather have that go out than a manager. Because my
Yeah.
managers used to
Well,
like say, can I have a gun and take it out there? Like, no,
no.
you might hurt yourself.
Well, that's a perfect example of how, things are different. Things do change.
Yep.
And you don't want to necessarily be the first adopter to a new technology,
Right.
but you can't be the laggard either because it's
Right.
too expensive.
Yeah.
So drones, or like all these new companies we've seen at the trade shows, there's so many new innovations that weren't there 5 years ago.
Yes.
It's your responsibility to keep up with that,
Yes.
and figure out the ways to make it happen. Even when you don't have enough physical people, use
Yes.
technology. It works
Yes.
great.
And it does work great. And you've got to have that balance of that, and
Yes.
how to be able to actually rent and effectively keep good tenants.
That's right.
Yeah, because that's kind of the hard part sometimes. That's why you sometimes need a little extra something.
Every manager out there can instantly think of at least 5 customers that will only deal with them.
Yes.
I'll call back when Carol is there.
Yep.
I'll come by when Carol is there.
Yep.
Or I only want to talk to Ann. So we have done a great job of knowing our customers, giving that great service like you mentioned, and they really only want to deal with that person.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I keep saying it's a people business. I know other people think it's not so much a people business, but it's a people business if you ask me. Though we have an asset that we're managing, but it's still it is a people business. And if we can keep that people centered, even with, I love what you said with the technology trying to work, because not everyone because my kids don't care about seeing anyone or talking to anyone. They'd rather, how is it going to be easy to do?
Yep.
So I can see there's a generation of people that are going to be different than we are. I would rather go in there and talk to the manager and interact with them and make sure they're taking care of my stuff, or whatever. I just like you. I like, great people in the office. So
you bet.
We could preach all day about that, couldn't we?
That's right.
and we do. And we sometimes get paid for it. So thank you so much, Ann. I always appreciate you because you have such a great handle on the numbers, and not only that, I just admire you as an operator, and I think there's some mutual love we've got going.
Yes. You are absolutely welcome, and thank you to you, of course, and to Desiree, of course, for all her logistics handling this and getting us going. And she does a great job. And either one of us could talk stories 24/7. So I guess that we've warned them now. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And how can people get a hold of you?
They can contact me at Universal Storage Group here in Atlanta, Georgia. Our office number is 770-801-1888, or reach out to Sarah Beth at universalstoragegroup.com.
She's awesome.
SARAHBETH at universalstoragegroup.com, and she will queue up whatever you need.
Yeah, and she's amazing too. That's what even with Desiree, for me, she's just so amazing, and it's nice to have a great team, isn't it? Because it
is nice
because you don't always have to be the one that they contact, and they're still happy.
That's right. That's right.
Well, thank you, Ann, and have a great day and a great end of the year. I'm sure you're gonna have some kind of festivities and stuff.
Yes, and
Yeah.
happy holidays to all of you.
Okay, and same to you. All right, see you, Ann. Thanks
Bye,
again.
hon.
Bye.
Thanks.
Happy renting.
Yes, raise the
Yeah.
rent.
Yeah.